Alright, so this is the character animation, and you need to log into Canvas so you can get the sky background. Get that downloaded, saved wherever you need it. You don't need to open it. Then you go to Flash and do an ActionScript 3.0. And we're going to set the size to 640 by 360. Okay. Then you can just go File, Import, Import to Stage, and then go find the sky background, so wherever you saved that. And it will fit perfectly, so you might just need to move it a little bit, but it'll fit perfectly in the stage size that we created. And I'll go ahead and name this Sky and lock it. And then I'm going to make a new layer and I'm going to name it Grass. And we're going to do a gradient. So up here you've got your painter's palette, and you switch it from solid color to linear gradient. You click on the box and choose 2 shades of green. Also, just so you know, if you accidentally add another one, you can actually just click on that box and drag down and it'll disappear. Okay. So now I'll take my rectangle tool. I don't want a stroke on it, just the fill. And then you can just go ahead and click and drag and fill in about 1/3 of the screen. We're also going to use the gradient transform tool. So 3rd tool here, gradient transform, to click, and then this rotates it. So I'll use that to rotate it at the top. You'll see that the gradient effect almost disappears, so then you can use this box with the arrow in it to click and drag, and as you bring them together you can see that the gradient is more visible now. And that's it for grass, so we can go ahead and log that. Now we'll get into the animation. So I'm going to make a new layer and I'm going to call it Character. Oops. Character, okay. And we're going to do kind of a walking potato. So I'm going to get my oval tool and I'm going to give it a black stroke. Choose whatever color you would like, just choose a solid color. So I tend to go with kind of this, reddish brown potato kind of color. The stroke needs to get set to 10 and then just go ahead and draw it. Okay, keep track of that size. You don't want it to be huge, but a little bit larger than the height of your grass is just fine. So now with my selection tool, I'm going to double click my body, is what this is. And in order for us to make this so we can make it look like this is a character who walks across the screen, we need to do what's called a nested animation. So I'm going to go ahead and come up to Modify, Convert to Symbol. And then I'll name it, so I'll just call it Character. If you were making several characters, though, you would probably want to give it something more specific, so maybe I should call it Potato or something like that. The type is Graphic, and the registration is Center. After you've got those set, you can go ahead and click OK. Now it'll have this blue box around it, and you double click. If you notice, there's a brand new timeline here. And if you look, you'll see you've got character and then scene 1. So we are kind of inside of the animation inside of the animation is what we're doing here. So layer 1 is going to be body. And we're not changing anything else in the body, so you can go ahead and lock that layer. Then I'm going to make a new layer and I'm going to call it front leg. And I'll take my oval tool. And I'm going to make my stroke 8 so that it's just a little thinner since it's going to be a smaller circle. And just go ahead and draw, an oval, and this is going to be the leg. And you can reposition it a little bit if you need to after we're done with it. So I'm going to take the lasso tool, and you want to just use the lasso tool to select the stroke. See, that's too much. I don't want that. So you want to just get the stroke and then delete it. And then I'll just use my move arrow so I can move this over a little bit. So I'm making it look like the leg is connected to the body. So even though they're on separate layers, they're going to behave as, you know, they look as though they're connected. Okay? So I will go ahead and double click it again so it's all selected. And then I'm going to do Control C to copy. And then I need to make a new layer and call this one back leg. And I'll go ahead and edit, and I can either do Control V or, you know, edit paste. So now I have a copy of the leg. And I'll just go up to Modify, Transform, Flip Horizontal, and that flips it. So then I'll position it. Now right now that's kind of strange looking. It looks like he's facing forward maybe. So this back leg needs to be click and dragged so that it's behind the body. Okay, so think of this as kind of we're looking at the potato from the side. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on the fill of the back leg and then come over to that little, you know, painting palette. And you see this bar here? It should have whatever color you chose. And then it goes, you know, a lighter version to the darker version. So if you just take these little arrows and you click and drag it down just a little bit, you're just going to get a slightly darker shade of your original color. So it kind of looks like there's some, like this side of the leg is in shadow. So just, you know, little details like that. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and click on the front leg layer and then make a new layer and call it face. And I just stick it on the top so that I make sure it's not being below the body. And what I'll usually do for the face is I'll grab the oval tool. I'll set the stroke width to about 5. Change the color to, you know, whatever eye color you want it to be. And if you draw one eye, you can then use the selection tool to Control C to copy, Control V to paste, and that way your eyes are the exact same size. Okay. Then you use the line tool to do the mouth. And once you've drawn that line, you can then use the selection tool, and if you hover over it, you can either give him a smiley face or a frowny face. Okay, and that's all we're going to do with the face, so I'll lock that. Alright, now that we've edited everything that we're going to do with the legs, we're going to turn them into symbols. So I'm just going to click on the front leg, go to Modify, Convert to Symbol, and then name it accordingly, front leg, graphic symbol, center registration, OK. And then I'll do the same thing for the back leg. So Modify, Convert to Symbol, call this one back leg, graphic registration, OK. Now, if you come over to frame 15 and you just click once, hold, and drag, it allows you to highlight all of these, and then you can right-click and insert frame. And that just makes it so it inserts the frame for every layer, and you don't have to do it one at a time. So it just speeds things up a little bit. Now, we're going to do a motion tween on the front leg and the back leg. So if you go to the front leg and right-click anywhere in those frames and choose Create Motion Tween, and then do the same thing for the back leg, Create Motion Tween, we'll go to frame 1, and we want to position our legs exactly where we want the start point to be. There's a thing called a walk cycle, which means that if you want them to walk as though and you can't tell when it stops and starts up again, then you make sure that the first frame and the last frame are exactly the same. So you're going to take the free transform tool and go ahead and click on a leg. And if I rotated my leg right now, it rotates around the center. That's because we put the registration point there. But I'm going to just take this white dot and click and drag it up to the corner. I didn't want it all the way over here. I just want it. Imagine that this is like the joint, your hip joint. Then when you rotate it, it moves like this. And, you know, I could have done a better job of deleting and using that fill, but that's alright. It works. So do that for both the front leg and the back leg. You click and drag that little dot, and then you can rotate it and it moves. Then you want to make sure that you just kind of rotate them. The front leg, rotate it towards the back, and this back leg rotate towards the front. So that's going to be the start position. Okay, now usually with motion tweens, when you make a change, that is how it creates a new keyframe. However, we want this last frame, frame 15, to be exactly the same as frame 1. So we're going to insert a keyframe manually, which means you right click, insert keyframe, and we want to use all. So right click, insert, oh, make sure I'm on 15, insert keyframe and all. Okay, so right now if I slide, nothing is happening. They should look exactly the same. Then I'll go to frame 8 and I'll rotate them in. So rotate that one leg in and this leg in so they kind of meet together. And then if you press enter, you'll see that, and I can press the little loop and make sure that they're playing, and you can see that it's a goofy walk, but it works. Now we're going to add one more thing that we're going to animate in here, kind of a secondary action. We're going to name it, make a new layer and name it hair. And then on the first frame, I'm just going to go ahead and use my line tool and draw this little hair. And you can use the selection tool to kind of curve it. And this one we're going to do a shape tween with. So I need to go to the last frame so that it starts and ends exactly the same. And I'm going to insert a keyframe. Now I'll go to 8, same place as my other keyframes down below. And that's when I can use this sub-selection tool. Click on my little hair here and, move it. Maybe give it more curve, however, so that it's different. So if I go between the two, you'll see, Oh, I haven't inserted my keyframe yet. Oops. So come to here, right click, insert keyframe. There we go. So now it'll, oh, I messed it up. Go figure. I'll Control Z back to before I made that change and insert the keyframe before I change anything. So I need to insert keyframe, then I edit my line. My mistake. I think after having done this 4 times, I'd have it down. But okay, so now it just switches between the two. Then you can right click, insert create shape tween. Sorry. And create shape tween. Now I'll watch it play and I'll make sure my little time loop is there. And so there he is, he walks and he has this little bouncing hair as he goes. Alright, that's done there. So we'll go back to scene 1, and here we are with our original characters. And you come to 45 and you click and drag again so that I can just insert frame. And then on the character layer, I will go ahead and create a motion tween. And frame 1 is where it starts. So I'll use, you want to start off the screen. That way when it looks like he walks on. And then we're going to go to 45 and we're going to make it look like he walks off. So then if I go Control, Test Scene, you can see he just walks on and walks off. So it's like he's walking in circles over and over and over. Okay, so that was a motion tween. We just moved him on frame 1 and then we went to frame 45 and we moved him again to the bottom point. Now the last thing that I want you to do, and let me bring up an example from previous classes, is I want you to do this by yourself to see if you can remember, is you're going to animate 2 clouds to move across the screen. Okay, so you will use a motion tween is my hint. You'll also want to add 2 layers so each cloud can move independently. Okay, so motion tween, you pretty much do the clouds exactly how we just did this character layer. Then when you're done with that, File, Publish Settings. We don't need HTML, we just need the SWF. Name it, character animation. Make sure you know where it's going. And then go ahead and hit Publish. And then you're done.